What is going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Quick Connects podcast series. And today we are joined with none other than Flex from Jersey. Flex, what is happening?
What's up, my man? Pleasure to be on, bro. Excited. Like I said, been tapped in with you for a minute, man. This is long overdue, man. Looking forward to it. Let's chop it up.
Yes, sir. It's gonna be tough. So before we get into like the crazy stuff, which that's why everybody's kind of tuned in, what have you been up to just like in the daily life, man? I know you were on the PHNX podcast before, and then you just kind of popped in and out of Twitter recently. So what's kind of been up the update in life?
Man, it's been rough, man. It's been a hurricane, honestly, bro. Last 3-4 months, man. I had a lot of deaths in the family, a lot of stuff going on the East Coast, West Coast. It's documented. I've tweeted about it a little bit, but my mom is battling stage 3 cancer, so we dealing with that. Lost a couple really close friends, some uncles, some aunts. My niece passed away. My dog died. So man, it's been rough, man. But we getting the pieces together, man. We slowly getting together as a family, and things are starting to calm down. My mom's doing well. She's back in New York. She's about to start treatment next week. So Adam's been good, man. Took some time off from PHNX to focus with family, and had to take some time away from basketball to focus on family and my faith. But we getting it back together, and it's good to talk ball, man. It's good to get on and talk some ball and disconnect from all that other stuff going on in life, man. But thanks for asking that, man. I appreciate it. We hanging in there, brother.
No problem. My condolences and best of wishes. So before we get into anything too crazy, is there anything like any future plans in terms of getting back into the media field or anything?
Yeah, man. I mean, I do a lot of stuff with Fox 10, NBC 12. I've had a lot of conversations about getting back into the media space, doing some podcasts, working on some projects. But a lot of people don't know this, man. Like, I'm 45, man. I came from the East Coast. I retired from engineering, 25 years with one of the biggest communication companies in the world. Took some time off, but I just got an offer to get back into engineering as a senior engineer on the West Coast. So I'm a focus on that a little bit, and I'll be doing a little TV, a little radio, a little podcast throughout the season. And like I said, there's some interesting things percolating in the background, some interesting conversations about some certain networks and platforms and stuff that we could do. And so yeah, just letting that kind of fall into place. But yeah, I ain't going nowhere, man. Like, we gonna talk ball, we gonna be around, bro, and hopefully this next season should be exciting with
Got
some
it.
of the stuff I got working behind the scenes.
Honestly, I didn't even think you were 45. I'm gonna be completely honest, but that's Unc
I
right there, bro.
appreciate.
That's Unc status. You got
I,
the Unc and nephew freaking special pod right here.
That's right. That's right. That's why no, it's all love. It was little bro, little nephew. That's why that
Of
comes out so
course.
naturally. Because, yeah, I am 45. I got a 26-year-old daughter and a 23-year-old son, though. So we be chilling hard.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's time to get into what everybody, is tuning in. They don't want to hear us talk about other stuff, but
Yeah. Yeah.
what's
Let's get
happening with the
it, man.
Kevin Durant trade stuff, man? What's the insider info looking like?
Man, bro. First of all, respect to Kev, man. Kev's a great ball player, all time great, GOAT status.
Shout out Kev,
It's
bro.
tough to be.
Seriously.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough to be in this spot, man. It's tough to be in this spot. Everybody's gonna play revisionist history and whose fault is this and whose fault is that. At the end of the day, man, everybody got fault. You know what I mean? From ownership to the front office to
Right.
the coaches to players, right? So it's tough to be in this spot, and these are real life people. You know what I mean? Like these, and I gotta phrase this. We got some time to
Right.
talk, so forgive me if I'm long winded, but I just
Yeah.
want to say a couple things because people forget, man.
Go
These are
for it. Go
real
for it.
people, man. You know what I'm saying? They're real people. They got real
Right.
lives, right? They got real families. Stuff like this is bigger than basketball. You got to move to different states, and you got to figure out the houses and all that stuff, man. So it's tough, man, when
Right.
anybody's involved in this, right? It's just not cool. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, we're in that spot, right? So everybody's wondering what's going on with Kevin Durant, and I mean, I don't think it's not a secret, man. Like, Kevin Durant's going to be traded.
Right.
Kevin Durant's probably going to be traded. within the next couple to 5 days, maybe. I would not be shocked if this deal gets done before the weekend. And there's a lot of teams out there, right? So let's talk about this. You got the Rockets, you got the Timberwolves, you got the Spurs. Those are the teams that everybody's talking about, right? And then you got some teams in the cut. You got the Miami Heat, you got the Raptors, you got the Clippers, you got a team that I keep talking about. This isn't for Kevin. I keep mentioning Memphis, and people are taking what I'm saying the wrong way. I'm Memphis is in the mix because
Hmm.
I think what's going to happen. Here's my true opinion. There's probably 3 teams that really could use Kevin Durant, and it will make a real difference. And that's
Hmm.
Minnesota, Houston, and San Antonio, right? So those are the 3 teams that I think are most likely to land Kevin Durant. With that said, though, I
Yeah.
believe this could be a 3-4 team deal, bro. So there's other teams lurking, right? There's teams like the Clippers and the Raptors and
Right.
like Memphis and
Want a
stuff like
little
that.
piece of
So
it.
right, people want to get a piece of it, and this is a big time deal. So as far as the Kevin Durant update, man, the most traction I've heard. Let's talk about the last hour. In the last hour before I jumped on with you, if I had to say what team I think is the leader in the clubhouse, it's probably Minnesota. And I know I keep hearing about Miami.
That's what I sounds
My
like.
yeah, I
Yeah.
keep hearing Miami, and they are there. They're creeping, and a lot has changed this morning. They up their offer and their bids, and things are changing. But I personally, I don't think Kevin Durant takes Miami over the hump. I don't think that's the best fit for
Yeah.
everyone in this situation. So when I think about it,
Right.
I think Minnesota is the team that's showing the most traction. I think San Antonio's right there. But Miami is lurking, man. Miami is lurking. And so this can get interesting if Miami starts to add some of these young players that I know the Suns covered. A guy like, my boy Khalil Ware is the real deal. So if you start
Yeah.
to
I
add
was
those
just gonna.
type
I
of
was just gonna
players,
ask.
yeah, Khalil Ware is the Suns aren't gonna give KD away, brother. They're just not. He's just too good. He's still an all
Right.
NBA
It's just
dude. He
not how it
still averaged
works.
30. It's not how it works, man. So there's been a lot though. And so like this change, like right now, me and you were talking, man, and in the hour that we're probably gonna do this show, you know, things could change 5 times in between that hour
Right.
span, the way this has been going, bro.
Exactly,
So
bro.
it's it's
Yeah.
it's a, it's a tough situation.
Now on Twitter, I've seen a couple things because the timeline's just strictly been like Kevin Durant stuff.
Hmm.
Like I've seen San Antonio, like I don't know if this is true or not, but the 14th pick they've kind of been like hesitant to throw that into a package, and that's kind of why they've like kind of fallen out of the race so much. They're not so much at the top because yesterday or like a couple days ago, San Antonio, it looked like Kevin was going to go to San Antonio, it was just a given, and now Minnesota, top team, and it's
Yeah.
looking like Minnesota's probably going to be the team.
Yeah. So I mean, I will say this. Let's talk about this, man. So I've been around this game. I've been around pro athletes and this business. This ain't something you stumble into, man. I told you I'm 45. Been around this since I was
Right.
15, man. I was playing with McDonald's All Americans and NBA All Stars and goats back in New York. I can list them, but people don't want to hear that, man. But so I'll say this. This is the point I'm trying to make. Point I'm trying to make is this. I talk to owners, general managers, coaches, agents, players, friends of the players, entourage, right? You talk to everybody, you build these relationships, you build these contacts over decades and decades, right? And
Right.
so when you talk about the Spurs situation, there's a little bit of smoke floating around because it's negotiations, man. It's negotiations. So uh, yeah, they're saying San Antonio didn't want to put the 14 pick. Does that mean they're not going to come back and offer the 14 pick? You get what I'm saying? I've
Right.
seen this too many times. I've
Yeah.
seen this way too many times to think that San Antonio is out of it. I wouldn't say they're out of it. I'll say that they
Yeah.
came in with a very underwhelming offer, and Phoenix put their foot down and said, "All right, bro, if you're gonna go that route, then we're not playing. We're gonna do something else." And I believe San Antonio, if they want to get Kevin Durant, they're going to have to add the 14 pick or they're going to be out of the mix. So I do think that's still on the table. I don't think San
Right.
Antonio has said, we're not giving you 14. I think they just started by saying, we're not giving you 14. And people are automatically saying, well, that's it. They're out. That's not necessarily true, man. They can
Yeah.
change their bid. They can change their offer. And so, but yeah, that is true. I've heard that the package that they offered was pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, I know I saw someone like quoted Gambo on his radio show today, and they said that pretty much Phoenix wants either Castle or the second pick. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, well, again, negotiations, right? You don't offer 14, so then we get crazy and we say
Yeah.
we want Castle or two, right? And so you try to meet in the middle
Right.
somewhere. You know what this is reminding me of, man? Like, and I wasn't really talking too much around that time. I was dealing with a lot of stuff at that time too. But this reminds me of the Jimmy Butler situation at the deadline.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna say this on your show, bro. I probably said this a couple times. Jimmy Butler wanted to be here. Like Jimmy Butler wanted to be a Phoenix Sun.
Right.
Period. End of discussion. There's
Yeah,
no
I've heard
guessing. There's
that.
no. Oh, I'm telling you right here on your show, emphatically,
Yeah.
fact, take it to the grave, bro. Like I know who I'm talking to. Like I know the people I'm talking to, and like Jimmy wanted
Yeah.
to be here. Jimmy's preferred destination wasn't Golden State, but the negotiations became negotiations. They got tough, and you end up in Golden State. So,
It's kind of the only option you
you
had.
that's right. It ends up kind of dwindling down, right? So this is reminding me of this. Like right now, you know what? The Phoenix Suns are the Miami Heat right now, and the Spurs are the Phoenix Suns
Yeah.
of the deadline for Jimmy Butler, and the T Wolves are the Warriors. That is kind of like history replaying itself, different individuals and different teams, but that's exactly what's happening. Like the Suns are in control, and they're gonna make the right deal that's right for them. I got my fingers crossed that it ends up working out well for everybody involved, right? You want Kevin to go somewhere he's happy with and somewhere that he wants to be, and you also want the Suns to get a
Right.
good deal.
Yeah,
So it's one of those middle grounds, man. But
exactly.
yeah, I think San Antonio, Houston, and Minnesota are still very much in the mix. But man, I'm telling y'all, Miami, this Miami thing is getting very interesting by the minute, man. And so they're a team that has got my antennas up, and my phone is like gonna be on all night for any updates I get from my people out that way.
Right.
Um, but I just feel like it's a better fit with one of the other teams, man. I don't think Kevin Durant gets Miami over the hump. Me
Right.
personally, I don't think so.
Exactly. Now, in terms of like these other teams getting involved and such, what are like some potential packages that you've heard, and which one would you like personally like out of everything that you've heard from other teams? What would you take?
Oh man, ooh, that's a great question, man. I'll tell you, I'll say this with everything I've heard. The first thing I want to say is we need bodies, man. We need bodies. Like whatever deal you make, you got to get some bodies. You got to get two or three guys that are going to be rotation players, right? So there was a time where I liked the San Antonio deal a lot, man. I really thought the idea of Jeremy Shohan, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, the 14th pick, the ability to add three, potentially four young bodies to this team that desperately needs it. At one point, that was probably my top
Yeah.
deal. There's variations of the Houston deal that I
Yeah, with that
like.
14 pick as well.
Right. If you give me the 14th pick with San Antonio, now we're talking. I like that deal a lot. Obviously, I like the Houston deals because the Houston deals give us potentially the 10th pick and the possibility to get maybe more of our picks, right? But when you start adding more picks, it changes the package of the deal. So what are you talking about? Jabari Smith? You talking about Dylan Brooks? Nice players. Reed Shepard, nice player. You know what I mean? But I lean the San Antonio route. But now when you start understanding that this could be a 3 or 4 team deal, I like the way the Suns are maneuvering, man, because I'm gonna tell you, I'm less interested in the team Kevin's gonna end up at. Okay, let's start with that. So whether it's
Right.
Houston, San Antonio, Minnesota, I'm less interested in that. What I'm more interested in is who's the third team that's going to help facilitate this, right? I've had numerous conversations over the last week and a half with Memphis people. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're bringing up Jaren Jackson Jr.'s name a lot. Okay. Now, Jaren Jackson is a guy I absolutely love. And so if you
Hmm.
start to look at things and there's some type of variation where Memphis gets involved, again, a lot of things have to fall into place. But if you can get your hands on a Jaren Jackson, right? If you can get your
Yeah.
hands on when the Knicks were involved, right? If you can get your hands on an OG Anunoby or Mikal Bridges, right? Those are the type of pieces that I think fit this
Right.
alignment of this team. And so I'm more interested in who's going to be that third team. And it could be Toronto. It could be Memphis. It could be the Clippers. It could be a plethora of teams that are poking around to help facilitate this. And I think that's what's intriguing me more. How do you get more when you add that third team or maybe even fourth team? How do you get more for the Suns? How do you get more bodies? And how do you maybe turn Kevin Durant into a couple guys that could be rotational guys for the long term? And that's where my mind is at right now. So, but it's changing by the minute, brother. But to answer your
Yeah.
question, I really like the San Antonio deal. And I think there's variations of the Minnesota deal, depending on who the third team is, that can get very interesting. You know, if you're
Right.
talking about Minnesota, you're talking about Rudy Gobert, you're talking about Julius Randle, you're talking about the 17th pick. Can you get a third team involved and add something to that, right? Or is that's where my mind is at, brother. It's the whole package as opposed to just the individual where Kevin is going stuff.
Right. I would say that we're kind of in the same headspace in terms of packages because I know I really like that San Antonio deal. I know a lot of people are like kind of skeptical because they're not big name players, that people talk about, but they're
Yeah,
very underrated guys that, go under the radar, like Devin Vassell, straight hooper. Liked him. He
Hoover.
kills the Suns every time he plays us, I swear. So Chin,
Yes.
love him.
Yeah.
If you can get Keldon Johnson, I know it's probably gonna be between Barnes or Keldon, kind of,
Yeah.
there's different variations, like you said, with packages. And then, that 14th pick, you could get someone that's pretty solid, which that's something that intrigues me. But yeah, there's some third teams. I've heard Brooklyn's kind of in the mix in terms of, kind of
Yeah.
being a third team. I'm kind of interested to see how that would happen. Could we see like a Cam Johnson, thing
Yeah.
back in the
I
Valley?
tell you, I,
I have no
I would
idea.
love that,
That's why I
man.
have that's why I
I
have you
will.
here.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I got a soft spot for Kel and Cam Johnson. I love both of them dearly, man. They went back to they went back to New York. So when that happened, it was cool to have them close to home. When that happened, but so Brooklyn, right? I would love Cam. I mean, I really think if you
Yeah,
gave Cam truth serum, he'd do anything to come back to Phoenix. I think the same thing with Mikal Bridges. Um, I I I don't want to get anybody hopes up, man, but I don't think Cam is part of this deal if it's Brooklyn, right? But I've heard his name pop up. I've
right.
also heard Nick Claxton's name pop up, right? A guy that I think is for my money, he's a little underrated in the league. I always like Nick Claxton. Um, but yeah, Brooklyn's poking around, and if there could be a way to get your hands on Cam Johnson, that would be terrific. And I know this fan base will love it. But I'm gonna be honest, I haven't heard a particular package where Cam Johnson is involved, or works out for everybody involved where he comes back. But this is changing by the minute, so that can change within the next hour or night,
Right.
and we could be talking about a whole different thing. But yeah, Brooklyn's a team to keep an eye on, man. And Toronto too. So man, I wish I can tell you, yo, this is what's going down, but no one knows, man, the way this is moving and the way this is shaking.
It changes.
um
Yeah.
it changes by the minute, and people don't understand that. Like, people really need to understand this is a negotiation that's changing by the minute, brother. So you gotta call every team. There's no teams eliminated either. Like, you keep hearing these teams, but there's no team eliminated, brother.
Right.
There's only 30 of them in the league, man. Every time there's a bid that comes in, the the,
Right.
the, the responsibility of GM is to call everybody in the league and say, hey, this is what we're potentially doing. Y'all want in on this? Can y'all help with this? And so that's why it's hard to make trades in the NBA. Pete, this ain't 2K, man. This ain't NBA 2K, man.
Right.
It's more
Right. A lot of
difficult than
people need
people
to
think.
understand that. So kind of switching gears here. Yeah, yeah. Well, we can go to Brad. But I do
Okay.
kind of have a couple more questions, and
Yeah, go ahead.
revolving around Kevin Durant, because there's a lot of like kind of stigmas about his age, the extension deal,
Yeah,
and pretty much
let's talk about that.
if you talk to a Kevin Durant stan, it's pretty much he dictates where he's going to be, and at the end of the day, the Suns are going to do what's best for them. They get the best package.
That's a fact. I'll say this, and that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, so first things first. Again, much respect to Kevin, all time great. We know who Kevin Durant is, right? And for that matter, he's wanted. Like this. I said this weeks ago. I think on Fox 10, but this is becoming like a bidding war, because Kevin is that damn good, and people think that Kevin can change things. So when we talk about the
Yeah,
contracts, I think it's a little bit disingenuous, or not disingenuous, but I think people are reading this the wrong way. So first of all, let's start here. Um, People thinking that, okay, the Suns can't trade Kevin here because he won't sign an extension, right? The team that trades for Kevin is going to have his bird
right.
rights, right? The team that has Kevin can pay him more than anybody. The team that has Kevin can immediately give him an
Hmm.
extension, right? So I think there's less worry from teams. I think teams are saying, yo, once we make the trade and Kevin is part of our organization, we'll immediately present an extension. And here's the question. Again, this is no disrespect. I don't like to talk about people's money, man, but here's the situation. Kevin's 37 years old, right?
Right,
Or soon to be 37 years old. Does a team take the shot and say, is he really going to turn down a 2-year extension that puts him into 38 and 39? You know what I mean? Like, we know how this league works. We know how quick
right.
you can go from being healthy to not being healthy, right? And you don't wish that on anybody. So I don't think it's as big of a problem as
Yeah,
people are saying. There's people saying, yo, you got to trade him to a team that's going to, he's going to immediately extend with. And I think there's more to that. Of course, the team
yeah.
getting him would like to know that he wants to be there. But with the bird rights and the age
Hmm.
and the potential to give an extension, I think that's less of a problem. This team's willing to take a 1-year rental and see how it goes with Kevin. So that makes it more interesting.
Now, kind of going back to the whole Memphis deal, because I'm curious as well, and just kind of clarify for
Mm-hmm.
people listening. So, if you brought up Jaren Jackson, I'm assuming he would end up to Phoenix in that package, right? Correct?
Yeah. So again, I've been hearing a lot of chatter about Memphis in general, right? So let's start off with that. When I'm talking to my
Hmm.
people around the league, I'm talking about what teams are having what conversations, and Memphis has popped up a lot. They want to shake some things up. They were heavily involved in the Jimmy Butler stuff, so there was a lot of conversation I was having with people out in Memphis during the deadline. And then you start to hear that they're trying to shake things up, right? So then you start to ask the questions: what names are popping up? And
Hmm.
Jaren Jackson's name has popped up. Okay. I know that the Phoenix Suns covet Jaren Jackson Jr. I can confirm that. They love Jaren Jackson Jr. And this is the funny thing, right? There's a lot of people going crazy about the Michigan State
Hmm.
stuff, right? With the Phoenix Suns. And it's like, you can't get mad at the Phoenix Suns with one thing,
Right,
and then you get Jaren Jackson and you mad. Like, you can't have it both ways here, right? So
right.
yeah, there's been some stuff with
It's
Michigan
just how it
State.
goes.
That's just how it goes. Like, you're not gonna, you can't play both sides of the fence here, right? So you can't sit here and say, oh, they just hired Gregory and Jordan Hall and Michigan State, and then they get Jaren Jackson. It's like, oh, that's great that we know Michigan. You can't do that. So I will say Jaren
Like,
Jackson is a guy that's, yeah, you can't have it both ways, man. But that's a good thing with Michigan. This is one of those situations where you're like, I'm glad we got Michigan State connections, because Jaren Jackson's a hell of a basketball player. And
right.
he's the guy that, if you can get your hands on, would be the, I mean, let's can I get into something else here, because you just piqued my interest with something
Go for it, man.
regarding Jaren Jackson. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't know, we don't know how this is all gonna shake out, but here's what I will say. My dream scenario is the Suns get their hands
Hmm.
on a 4 or a 5 that makes it really hard for you to
Hmm.
double and blitz pick in the book in the 4-2 or the 5-2 pick and roll. right? That's been a problem lately. You
Hmm.
blitz, you have that 5-2 pick and roll at the top, and if your guy can't pick and pop and shoot, you can easily blitz book and try to get the ball out of his hand. So now let's imagine if it's Jaren Jackson, right? Imagine you're in that pick and roll with Jaren Jackson, a guy that can shoot the
Yeah.
three, you can put the ball on the ground, he can take it to the rack. The dream scenario is the Suns come out of this with a 4 or 5 that can really shoot the three ball and is young and is athletic and can give Book that
Hmm.
2-4-2-5 combo that I think is very interesting with him. I'll throw another team like Utah, like Laurie Marketing, I think is a great fit for Devin Booker. A guy like Laurie, a guy like Jaren Jackson. I
Yeah.
heard Carl, we were having the conversations about Carl Towns. I'm not I'm not the biggest guy pushing for like when these rumors were floating around about Carl Towns. I just the defensive end scares me a little bit. But again, that type of guy with
Hmm.
Book is the ideal situation. So going back to Memphis, they're talking.
Yeah.
They're having a lot of conversations. Jaren Jackson's name has popped up. I know the Suns have interest in Jaren Jackson. I believe Jaren Jackson wouldn't mind being here in Phoenix. And as we continue this conversation, I'll get to some of that stuff as to how this league plays out and why I think the Suns are still in a decent situation compared to what people think. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, something that like kind of like intrigues me, or something I would like, kind of back to like a dream scenario type thing. I want a center that just can, play some defense, a good rim protector. That's something that, really piques my interest. And, a lot of people don't like
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert a lot. Offensively, it's
Yeah.
scary. It's
No,
it's
no,
a
I'm
it's an
laughing
interesting
because I,
topic,
I'm
like you said,
I'm laughing, dog, because it bugs me out, man. Like, bro, I hoop, man. It bugs me out when people say, man, they talk about Rudy Gobert. I'm like,
hmm.
y'all realize this dude is like one of the best defensive guys you've ever seen in your life in the NBA. Like, this is a
Exactly.
generational, all-time great defensive player. So, like, it blows my mind when people just dismiss Rudy Gobert. I'm like, man, dog, you got potentially the best defensive center of all time back in your defense. Why would you not want that? Like, so I'm not a big, I'm
Exactly.
with
And it
you.
takes a
I'm
little
not.
bit off the pressure for the other people too.
That's right. He's a great screen setter. He's gonna bring it. He's gonna defend. He's gonna block shots. He's gonna anchor your defense. Look at the NBA Finals right now, man. Them two teams are defensive teams. Them two teams bring it. They lock down on defense. They got
Exactly.
bodies. They tough, right? And so yeah, I'm okay with Rudy. Now, what is the rest of the package, right? What's the rest of the deal? And that's where it gets interesting. But yeah, no, I'm with you. My dream scenario is give me again, Jaren Jackson type guy. I'm gonna say this. I want to make this clear because I don't want people coming at neither one of us after this pod, right?
Right.
Memphis is. I've heard Memphis talking. I've heard Jaren Jackson's name pop up, and I've heard from people within that building that Jaren Jackson is a guy that the Suns covet. Now, that's not a secret because every team in the league will want Jaren Jackson. How does that happen? I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure right now. I don't know if Jaren Jackson is going to fit into a Kevin Durant trade. Um, but I will say this. I'll give you an example. If the Knicks were really hard pressed and the Knicks said, "Yo, we want Kevin Durant and we're willing to shop Carl Towns," was that a scenario where Carl Towns could end up in Memphis, Jaren Jackson and some pieces could end up in Phoenix, and Katie could end up in New York? Absolutely. That's the type of deal that I think
Hmm.
could have happened. I'm not sure if New York is still in the mix right now, based on what I'm hearing. But I'm just giving you an example of previous conversations that have come up that make you feel like, okay, if the Suns can get their hands on a guy like that. So my dream scenario, man, get a defensive center that can shoot a three, and yeah, now you cooking. Now you got
Yeah.
something next to Book that could work.
Now, I know there's been kind of like, this is kind of the stigma around the front office about who's actually doing what. Is it Brian Gregory or is it Josh Bartlestein? I'm kind of curious of
Yeah.
like if you kind of know like who's doing what, because I put out a tweet today saying Brian Gregory's legacy is on the line, and we've heard that Josh is kind of been the commander in terms of the trading and other aspects of getting players. So I was kind of curious if they're like kind of working side by side, or like Josh is doing it or Brian's doing it.
Yeah, no, I think Brian Gregory, he's a general manager of the Phoenix Suns, and I think he's really good at evaluating talent at a collegiate level. I know he had a lot of responsibility or a lot of input on drafting Ryan Dunn and also Iguodaro. He comes from a collegiate background, so he has an eye for picking out talent at a collegiate level, and I think that's good. I think he has an eye for picking out talent that's maybe devalued around the league or that is maybe not in the right spot. And I think Josh Berlestein is there as a voice. I think it's a collaboration between Brian Gregory, Josh Berlestein. You obviously got Matt Ishbia, who's got to sign off on everything. And you got guys like Matt Tellem and people that are experts with the cap and stuff like that. So I think it's a real team effort in that front
Hmm.
office right now. But I like BG. I'm gonna say it again, man. I think BG is he's not the best speaker. People look at him talk and it's
Right.
like, oh man, this doesn't sound great. But he's not here to talk. He's here to get the work and get the right
Exactly.
players, right? So I like BG. I'm gonna give him a shot. I think he's got a good eye for talent, and I think, like I said, it's a collaboration between a lot of people in that room. But I think people need to give BG a shot. I think he's got a good eye for some talent.
Yeah, I think we all need to get on board and just get aligned with the vision that they're trying to put
That's
there in
it.
Phoenix.
Yeah,
But yeah,
man.
we're gonna switch into to gears because I'm sure a lot of people are also
Yeah.
really curious about this dude, Bradley Beal. What's up with Brad, man? I know that there's been reports that he's probably gone, but there's just kind of different ways of how they're gonna go about
Yeah.
that. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious what the scoop is on that.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, let's start off with this. I don't it's been a tough go for Brad here. I
Yeah,
don't know if the fit's been great. You know what I mean? I think Brad Beal is still a much better player than what we've seen and
yeah.
and and the perception that he has out here in Phoenix. I do disagree when people say he's untradeable. I,
I
I
do
do
too.
believe he is trade. Yeah, I do believe he's got situations where he could be traded. I'll tell you a couple teams that pop up to mind in regards to conversations I've had. I would pay attention to the Orlando Magic. I would
I was
pay
gonna say
attention
them.
to
That was my first team that I had on top of my mind. Yep.
absolutely Orlando. I heard stuff about Orlando dating back to last year. With Brad Beal. So I believe Orlando has shown interest. I believe the Charlotte Hornets are a team that could show interest in Brad Beal. I believe the team he was currently with, the Wizards, will
Yeah.
have interest in Brad Beal. So those are three teams right there that I think, under the right circumstances and the right situation, could very much make a Brad Beal deal. And so you're talking about, do you buy him out? Do you stretch and waive him?
Hmm.
Do you give him freedom to start to negotiate with teams behind the scenes and then buy him out and allow him to make that money back? That could happen too. I don't think Brad Beal is going to be back with the Phoenix Suns. I've said this
Yeah.
numerous times. I think he's played his last game in Phoenix. I'd be absolutely floored if Brad Beal was on this basketball team next year, but you can't rule anything out because things
Yeah.
change. But I do think they have a chance to trade Brad Beal this offseason, but you got to start with what's going to happen with Kevin, the NBA
Hmm.
draft, and let things kind of shake out from that perspective. But yeah, I don't think Brad's going to be back, brother, and I do think there are some teams that will indeed trade for Brad Beal under the right circumstances.
Yeah. I was just, a lot of people just immediately just kind of eliminate the trade factor just because, the contract and, whatever
Hmm.
into production. But Brad's still like a really good player. It's just, the
Yeah,
fit hasn't really
yeah,
been good. I kind of looking back at the big three, the fit in general, like we were all, everybody, you're lying if you weren't excited when you saw that, we acquired Bradley Beal.
lying, yeah,
Everybody's lying.
lying,
We were like, oh, we're gonna have this three-headed offensive monsters. The scenario was, oh, if Book doesn't have it one day, Brad's gonna have it. If Brad doesn't have it going, Kay's gonna have it going.
yeah.
Everybody seems to forget that they had that thought process, at one time. But yeah, a team like Orlando, I think, could really use a Bradley Beal. And it looks like in the playoffs they could have used a guy like Bradley Beal as well. Another
Absolutely. I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, you're good.
I was gonna say, like, you look at Orlando. I love Bancaro. I love Franz Wagner. I do think that they could use a guy like Brad. I think they could use a little bit of an outlet or a release for those two guys. And a
Hmm.
guy that's been in the league a little bit with some experience. So a team like Orlando definitely jumps out at me. And there's some players on that Orlando team that I really like, man. There's
Yeah.
some young guys on that team that like I'm a old head, so I go back. Like I've always loved Jonathan Isaac. Like
Yeah. I
always.
have too. He's a great
Always
defender.
been my guy. Great defender. He's
It's just the
been,
health.
had some bad breaks with his health. But I was on the Jonathan Isaac train back when he was at Florida State, man. Like that dude under the right circumstances can do some really good things on the defensive end. So a guy from my neck of the woods, New York, man, like Cole Anthony, like, they have some players that maybe are getting kind of spaced out with their
Hmm.
rotation and just not great fits. But players that I think, if given opportunities in other spots, can really thrive. And listen, dog, superstars get you to finals. It's those role guys that help you really win it,
They
right?
help you win
Like,
it at the end.
like I remember people killing Obi Toppin. Like I was in New
Right.
York and
The dude
they're
is
like,
balling.
Obi Toppin is absolutely hooping in this finals. Like he had an incredible third quarter today. But these are guys that were like thrown off. Like I'll tell you another thing. I heard this name, like we've heard Laurie Markkinen's name pop up.
Yeah.
But people don't want to admit that, Chicago gave up on Laurie Markkinen. So did
Right.
Cleveland,
Yeah.
right? So it took him 3 teams to figure it out, right? And so that's why when you hear some of these packages, like a guy like Jabari Smith in Houston, I mean, like I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, that guy hasn't reached his full potential. That guy
Yeah.
hasn't been put
Right.
in the best spot. Like, why can't that guy come here and be the guy that he was coming out of college in Auburn and all that potential? So that's why
Exactly.
I'm telling people they need to calm down a little bit and give these players opportunities to actually prove what they could do before they just dismiss them based on what they've seen, in previous organizations.
Hmm. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are gonna kind of question about, you brought up
Hmm.
the potential destinations for Brad, Orlando. Why would a team like Charlotte or Washington, you think, get in on a Bradley Beal
Well,
sweepstakes?
here's the thing that I think. So right now, today, bro, today Bradley Beal's contract is, everyone's saying it's the worst contract in basketball.
Hmm.
Blah 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 blah. But if you're a team like Charlotte or you're a team like the Wizards, and you're looking at, okay, we're not competing and we're not doing anything for another 3, 4, 5 years, right?
Hmm.
Um, what people don't realize is that after next year, Brad Beal's contract is going to be one of the most coveted contracts in the NBA. He's going to be a $55 million expiring contract. With this new CBA, with teams and owners that are saying, if we're not competing, we're not going into that land spending all this money. So Brad Beal gives you an opportunity to free up salary that you may not be thrilled with, maybe get yourself away from some penalties, and also put yourself in a situation where a year from now, after this season, you have a $55 million expiring contract for somebody that wants to get out from cap hell
Yeah.
or something like that. So it's a long-term look, I think, with the Brad Beal thing. But these are the little dynamics that talking to agents and talking to front office people around the league, I think, get dismissed too easy. It's like, it's not as bad, especially with the cap going up and the fact that you're going to have
Hmm.
people making upwards of 70, 75, and 80 million a year.
Right.
There'll be a team that may say, you know what, I can't pay this guy for the next 4 years. I'll take
Yeah.
Brad's 1 year expiring as a power move, right?
Hmm.
So that's my answer to that is, if a team trades for Brad Beal, I believe it's a team that's trying to get rid of some salary commitment that they necessarily aren't in love with right now. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean bad player, by the way. That
Right.
doesn't mean bad player. That just means owner is not willing to pay that bill. Doesn't mean bad player. So
Right.
so it's not always a salary dump, and it's like, oh yeah, well, if we give up Brad, we got to take a worse contract. Doesn't always
Hmm.
work out that way, and you just
Yeah.
got to be patient and let things play out.
Yeah. And the CBA has been, we're still trying to navigate it. It's interesting. It's an interesting
Yep.
dynamic of how it's coming into play. But yeah, I'm curious to see how this situation plays out. And like I said, I think Brad's still, he's a very tradable player. He still has great value.
Yeah.
And just despite
Yeah.
the fit, before we get off the topic, I do want to say just one thing, disclaimer.
Hmm.
I'm a fan of Brad. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of been unfortunate in those situation. It's not what we expected or what we wanted. The injuries. Just the production, but I think that's just mainly fit. But I know just like I think the fan base. I get why they're upset. They have a very fair reason as to why they did that. Why they've had these reactions. I know there was that incident at the game last season with like his wife and whatever, which
Yeah.
I was really disappointed in this fan base for that happening. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I just
I
hope that Brad kind of has that joy of playing basketball again because I went to a game in Minnesota last this past season and he just looked so down on the bench. I might put a
Yeah.
picture up on the screen once back in editing, but yeah, it's been unfortunate, man. Like I said, I get
Yeah.
the reactions, but I hope the best for Brad. These guys are people at the end of the day, like we said earlier in the
Yep.
pod, and
Yep.
yeah, I hope he gets
I'm
the best
glad you said
situation.
that. I'm glad you said that, man, because Brad's a great dude.
Hmm.
Brad's a great dude. Like, I mean, really good dude, family dude. So it's just basketball, man. Like being
Yeah.
at an arena and your family getting attacked and stuff like that. That's not cool, man. And I
Yeah.
know Brad. I know Brad wants to do the best he can. It's just been a really tough situation. So my hope is that they work something out and Brad's able to get some joy back and land in a situation that makes sense because Brad Beal, I'm telling you, man, if they buy out Brad Beal, there's gonna be a lot of teams willing to pay Brad Beal 3 years,
Yeah.
$60 million.
Yeah.
Like that's just a fact. Brad Beal can still play some basketball. By the way, I got an interesting question, bro,
Hmm.
for you.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard you bring up Minnesota a couple times. Like, do you
Yeah.
live in Minnesota?
No, so
All right.
it's it's gonna be interesting. So I live in
I'm
Iowa.
just curious because I've
I,
heard it a couple times and I'm like, are you from Minnesota? You live in Minnesota? You like
no, so
no?
I live in Iowa actually. The plan is
Okay, Des
to
Moines,
move out.
Iowa. Shout out, my boy living out in Des Moines, Iowa. Two of my
Um,
best. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off. Two dudes I grew up with, Shelby and Carlo Walton. They played at Iowa State. Man, there was guards over there when Marcus Pfizer was over there. So went out to Des Moines, Iowa a couple times. Shout out to Iowa.
mhm. Yeah, it's a really interesting aspect because nobody kind of really knows. Everybody just kind of assumes from I'm from Phoenix or whatever. I'm assuming like you're in Phoenix right now, aren't you? You're not on the East Coast
I live
anymore.
in Phoenix now, yeah, man. But I'm a Jersey cat, Jersey, New York. But yeah, I get
Yeah,
you. So you've been a Suns fan your whole life out in Iowa?
I have.
Good for
Before
you,
we even
bro.
before we even drafted Book, Archie Goodwin was actually my favorite player growing up until
Let's
Book
go,
became
Archie. Shout
became
out
the
to
player it
Archie. I
was.
love Archie. Archie, a good dude. So how far? So all right. So you don't live in Minnesota. Okay. I was only asking because I've heard that. I think I saw something where you
Hmm.
said you was gonna drive to the arena, or you went to the arena in Minnesota,
Yeah.
something like that. So just curious because I'm a big Minnesota Viking fan. That's my football
Hmm.
squad. So I
Oh,
was gonna tell you.
jeez.
Yeah, I'm a. Whoa, what happened? Talk to me, dog. Who's your squad?
I'm a Giants fan.
Oh, G man, yeah. One of my favorite. Listen, this is one of my best friends in the world. It's my brother. Forget friend. This is my brother. If you're a Giants fan, David Tyree, Super Bowl catch, helmet
Hmm.
catch. It's my brother. Grew up around
Iconic.
DT. That's my bro. That's my family, man. So Giants, I got a soft spot for the Giants because I'm from New York and I know a lot of them dudes. Plaxico's my man. Yeah, I met all them cats, man. They homies, man. Justin Tuck, all them dudes. So you're a Giants fan, okay?
Yep.
I
This
gotta
is,
get you out to MetLife, bro. Got a lot of connects out there, bro. You want to go to a game in New York? Tap in with me, man. I get
I'll
you on the
let you
field.
know, bro. I'll let you know. Plan is hopefully I come out to Phoenix soon. Hopefully, I thought about coming out
All
in
right.
August because I know Ish is doing like the cars and kicks deal, so we'll see what happens there. But
Yeah, yeah. If you come out here, we'll tap in. And if you out in the East Coast, and like I said, if we find a situation where you want to go see a Giants game, man, just make a call, man. Them
for
my homies
sure.
over there. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of switching gears here. I know,
Yep.
the Phoenix Suns just recently hired a head coach, Jordan Knott. I
Yeah.
know
Hmm.
your guy you were really pushing for, along with a lot of the fan base, was Johnny Bryant.
Yep.
Um, what do you think was kind of like the ultimate factor as to why they chose Ott over Bryant? Because you never know, everybody's going to point to the, oh, he
Michigan
went to Michigan
State. No,
State.
no, I'm joking. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. Yeah, that's what everybody's gonna say.
Hmm.
Great question, and I'll tell you this much. I was very tapped into what was going on with the coaching search. I didn't. It wasn't a surprise, and I wasn't. I was very vocal about my love and desire for Johnny Bryant to get this job. Love Johnny Bryant. Think he's a great coach, great young coach. Going to be fantastic. Probably going to go back to Cleveland. He's got 4 years left on his deal, so he'll probably go back to Cleveland and then try again in the summer.
Hmm.
But to answer your question, man. Okay, so Jordan Ott, man. Bro, hard worker.
Yeah.
Really good offensively and defensively. 40 years old. You know, when these coaches interview, okay, they're sitting down, the Suns brass is in front of them, they got a board behind them, they're breaking down plays, they're showing a vision, they're like, this is what I could do, this is what I did with the Cleveland Cavaliers, this is what I could do with Phoenix, this is what I did with Donovan Mitchell, this is what I could do with Book, right? What you got to realize is both Johnny Bryant and Jordan Ott are presenting the same stuff, bro.
Right.
Like they're literally, it's hard to separate that because they're presenting the same stuff. So as you start to get into details, you're realizing these are two very good coaches. They're both young. They both have developmental skills. They're both really good on offense and defensive innovation. They come from the same program. One of my favorite coaches of all time is Kenny Atkinson. I'm from New York. I used to go to Kenny's camp. I love Kenny personally. That's my guy. So I got two guys that are on his bench and they're listening and learning from Kenny every day.
Hmm.
So I know that these are two guys that are well deserving of this job. And so now when you start to break things down slowly, you got to really dig deep to separate these two. The lazy answer is, oh yeah, Michigan State.
Right.
I don't think so, man. I just think that as the process played out, Jordan Knott separated himself in some other ways
Hmm.
that Johnny maybe quite didn't. And people have to get over that. Jordan Knott earned the job. He
Yeah.
interviewed. I know Book was involved. Like a lot of people were involved. It wasn't just Book. I hate when
Yeah.
people just kind of single out Book. There was a lot of people that were questioned about the coaching search, and
Hmm.
I know Book, went and said, "Listen, I like both guys. Both guys are
Yeah.
good." So they landed on Jordan. I'm actually listen. I'm telling you, man. Remember, I told you this. You can clip this. I think people are gonna really like Jordan.
I do too.
I think he's gonna be really good, bro. I think he's the right guy. I think they may
Hmm.
have lucked into. I don't. I think both of them would have been great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this guy's a no nonsense basketball junkie, bro,
Hmm.
and I think he's gonna do well for this team.
Yeah, I just my last video I went, over the Jordan Knott press conference and stuff, and I actually the past two videos have been about Jordan Knott. So, he just kind of has like this quiet confidence about him.
Yeah,
He seems like a sicko, like a basketball sicko. You
he is,
know,
bro.
he has that about him. But a lot of people are, they're gonna point and circle around the Michigan State thing. But somebody actually had the audacity to ask him that in the press conference, which I thought was crazy because there's no way. This isn't a family friendly podcast. So there's no fucking way in hell I would ask him that he went to Michigan. Like, did you get the job because
Right.
he went to Michigan State? And he fired back. He said, I have 20 years of basketball experience. So
That's
I
right.
thought that was great.
Good for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
good, good,
awesome.
good, good for him, man. He didn't win the press conference in like the money quotes and like all that other stuff
Right.
that other people do. But I like that. I think it's shameful that people are just going to the Michigan State thing. But like you said, bro, I spoke to somebody for an hour that told me like, bro, that dude's in the facility at 4 a.m. when all the lights are off in the video room. Like,
Yeah, I've heard a lot of great
and
things about him.
he's a worker, bro. He's a worker, and I'll tell you this. Last thing I'll say about this is when you're an NBA player, okay, and you're going through the grind of an NBA season, what you want is a coach that is going to be in the grind with you and going to be able to
Exactly.
make your life a little better.
Right.
Like like Book, okay, I see what they're doing here, dog. Timeout. Let's adjust.
Yeah.
Let me run something to free you up. Let's get to this. And so Jordan's gonna do that. Jordan's gonna be a
Mhm.
guy that's gonna be able to help the players around him. And people are gonna learn that really quickly. So yeah, I think he's gonna be fine, man. People need to chill out a little bit.
Yeah, when I was asking, during the coaching search about Jordan, I kind of asked around, just kind of about how he is with like players and stuff. And I've heard that he's a great connector. He's like the handshake
Yep.
guy. He has like different handshakes with everybody,
Yeah.
which, that stuff's
That's
important.
dope.
Aside from
Yep.
like the X's and O's, you need a guy that, can make like you. It's like when you're working at your 9 to 5. You want to have a good manager. You want to have a good boss.
Yeah. Good
Like
point.
you don't want to have to go into work and have to dread seeing your manager or your coach. You want to have a good connection and make it a good day. And it's a long season. It's 82 games plus the playoffs. Like
Yeah.
you're
Great
gonna
point,
have to
brother.
aside. We get to we go to work and then we go home. Blah blah blah. These guys, they're traveling with each other. They're going all over the United States.
Yeah.
They had to
Yeah.
put up with. It sounds like not a good situation with Bud. Told Book
Oh,
to
it
be
wasn't.
less
Yeah.
vocal. We saw the visible acts on the court with Durant, and
Yeah.
then with Vogel, they had the story that Shams put out there where Vogel just kind of had that outburst or whatever in the locker room. The team didn't take it serious. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just really important how you
Yeah.
get through to these guys and get the messages across without you know.
I agree. 100%. That's a great analogy with the 9 to 5, man. Because,
Yeah,
I come from corporate America, retired principal engineer for 25 years. I'm getting back into it as we talked about earlier. But, one of the things I used to do when I was leading other engineers under me, man, was I made it my business every time I walked in the office, say hi to everybody. Like
exactly.
make sure you shake everybody's hand, say good morning, say
Hmm.
hi. It's just the little things. And to your point, yeah, like Frank was a great dude. Like Frank
Yeah,
was a great person. I think the problem where Frank went wrong was he was trying to be too nice for too long. And then by
yeah.
the time it was time for him to get serious, people didn't take it serious. So
Hmm.
his timing was raw. But Frank was a great dude. And then Bud, man, I'm just going. I'm my silence, not wanting to even talk. That was absolute disaster in
That's what
every
I've
way,
heard. I've
shape, or
heard
form,
it was
brother.
really bad.
It was so bad. Yeah, it was so bad, brother. It was so bad, man. So that was a catastrophic mistake with that one.
Yeah.
And hopefully Jordan's gonna come in here and fix a lot of that stuff. So
Hmm.
I think they're in good shape, man. I think people are gonna be pleasantly surprised. I'm telling you, man. I think people are gonna like this guy a lot really quick.
Yeah. Now, kind of, this is kind of a more of a curiosity thing. How do you think they're going to
Hmm.
use Book? Because we've seen him like in this point guard type-ish role after, coming off like
Yeah.
a Michael Jordan numbers type playoffs, and then, they just
Yeah.
decided to put him in a point guard role and have him defer being a scorer, which whatever. Book can do it. Book's a great playmaker, very underrated. I think that's
Hmm.
one of the most like underrated
Oh
aspects
yeah.
of his games, and that it goes, by the wayside. But do you think they're gonna put him back at the two? Be more of a scorer since Kevin and stuff's gonna be gone. Prioritize getting the point guard because I would like a guy like Lonzo in the Suns. I think Lonzo would be great.
Oh, love Lonzo. Always have. Yeah. To answer your question, I think we're going back to putting Devin Booker where God made
SG1.
him to be. Devin Booker is a shooting guard, man.
Mm-hmm.
God put him on this earth to be a shooting guard, and we know what Devin Booker is capable of doing when he's in his natural position, right? Um, I'll tell you this, man. Again, been around the game of basketball my entire life. Played with some incredible people. I was in the gym with Kobe and Rip Hamilton and Tim Thomas and Shaheen Holloway and Vince Carter, like all these dudes I grew up around. Is the greatest AAU team ever is from Paterson, New Jersey, and I'm from Newark, New Jersey, 5 minutes down the road, and I rocked with those dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are all like I've been around a lot of people throughout my years in basketball, brother. And I'll tell you this, Devin's unique, bro. Devin is
Mm-hmm.
unique, man. I'll say this, you know, a lot of my relationships with players and agents and people behind the scenes, the thing that I think people don't talk enough about Book is the amount of love and the amount of appreciation. that his peers have for him around this league, bro.
Exactly.
Like I'm telling you, like Jaren Jackson wouldn't want to come to a team like the Phoenix Suns if they didn't have Devin Booker. Like Kevin
Exactly.
Durant came for to play
They
with
came for
Devin
Book.
Booker, right? CP came to play with Book. Brad Beal was okay coming here because it was Book.
Yeah.
One day we'll get on a show. Hopefully, I don't want to say too much, but I'm gonna tell you this, bro. I personally know 7 to 10 NBA All Stars personally
Hmm.
that would absolutely love to come play with Devin Booker right
Yeah.
now, even with
Yeah.
all the stuff going on. Would absolutely, if you gave them truth serum, they tell you, "Yo, I can play with Book. Book is
Hmm.
a unique talent. He's a guy that NBA players want to play with. You know why? Because he's a guy that can still get his numbers and adapt to someone else's game. But
Exactly.
I think this time around, I think the Suns are going to say, "Hey, man, you in the driver's seat. You're the face of the franchise. We're going to go back to you being the number one option.
Hmm.
We're going to go back to not having to defer anywhere anymore or worry about deferring anymore.
Right.
You be Devin Booker. You be the best two guard in basketball potentially."
Hmm.
And we'll put all the pieces around you. So yes, to answer your question, I think the idea is to get Book back to where he naturally belongs. And I'm gonna give you a hot take right now. I think Devin Booker is gonna average 30 a game next year. I
I
think it's
think
gonna
it's
be an
fair.
easy 30. I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be an easy 30. I think he's gonna go. You're gonna see an entirely different Devin Booker coming up. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people forget too, like what Book did these past 2 seasons. A lot of players couldn't do. They could not change their
No,
game just by the snap of the finger. What he did in the Olympics, one of the most like Book knows what it takes to win, and what he did
yeah,
these past
man.
2 seasons, very no ego or anything. Like a lot of players wouldn't do that. I'm gonna
No,
throw Anthony
no
Edwards into the
ego.
mix here because they call him shooting guard one, whatever, blah blah blah. And
Yeah,
couldn't do what Book did.
yeah. No, I mean, like here's the thing. You're right. Like again, no shade at Ant. Ant's
Right.
incredible,
Great
but
player.
Book's a
Superstar.
different Book's a different cat, man. Book's
Yeah.
a different cat, bro. Book is again. There's a reason why he was able to do what he did at the Olympic level because he can adapt his game and change his game to fit around the people around him. I can tell you right now, Steph Curry absolutely loves Devin Booker.
Hmm.
Like those moments with him and Book at the Olympics are priceless, man. And so
Yeah.
yeah, he was able to adapt his game and say, man, listen, I know I could score 30 a game, but I'm not here to do that. I'm gonna do all the little
Yeah.
things, hit timely shots, make the extra pass, play defense. And I don't think Ant at this point in his career is at that maturity level
Yeah. He's
where
still
he
very
would be
young
able to.
too.
He's still very young, man, and still, yeah, man, super young, man. So I think Ant will, eventually get there. But yeah, Book's going into 20. He's 28, bro. We're about
Hmm.
to hit the most important 5 years of Devin Booker's career, 28
Exactly.
to 33, and he's gonna sign that extension this summer. He's gonna sign
Hmm.
that extension, and he's gonna have 5 more years here in the Valley. And I'm telling you, Devin Booker wants to play in Phoenix his whole career. He wants to bring a championship here, and people criticizing that is absolutely fucking
It's
insane.
insane. Kendrick Perkins.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
But yeah. Yeah, it's just always been like this is gonna turn into a Devin Booker rant podcast because the disrespect is crazy. But one last thing I want to get about Book, the discourse about like just around him his whole career, it changes every year. You know, I thought the
Yeah,
MVP thing was interesting. I think he definitely should have won the MVP that one year because he was the best player on the best
absolutely,
team.
absolutely.
And now the itinerary to win MVP is to be the
Goalpost
best
change.
player and the best. Yeah,
Yeah.
same with
Move
the
the
All Stars, but
goalposts.
whatever.
Yeah,
But
move the goalpost. That bothered me, man. Because no, listen, Shay's incredible,
yeah.
but yeah, man, that really bothered me, man. I think they robbed Book of an MVP. He
Hmm.
earned it. He deserved it. He did everything that Shay did this year, and they moved the goalposts, and it's constantly
Hmm.
happening with Book, and it's disappointing. But
Yeah.
he just gonna keep grinding. He gonna keep
Yeah.
grinding, and
He's a sicko.
that's right. That's right.
But yeah, we're gonna switch gears here and kind of look at free agency a little bit. Tyus Jones, Monte Morris, and Bol Bol. I think we have Bol Bol's bird rights, so that's an interesting topic. And
Yeah.
you know, I saw Royce was at the. Oh, Royce. No, that's something else I'm gonna get into later.
Yeah,
So I
we're
don't want
gonna
to
get
get
to that.
jump too far ahead. But yeah,
I got you.
Monte Tyus Jones. I know Tyus has been at the Mercury games and such. So I'm just kind of curious, like if they're looking to bring him back. What you've heard about these
Um,
guys?
yeah, let me start off by saying this. I know a lot of people are down on Tyus. Wasn't his fault. Like the way things played out this year wasn't Tyus's fault.
Hmm.
I can't stress enough how much I thought Bud did a terrible job this year.
Yeah.
Um, so Tyus is a better point guard than people think. With that said, I could be wrong. This is just all like mental notes, but I think we had 8 players 6'5" and under on this
Hmm.
team.
Hmm.
So the focus this year is to get bigger, get more
More
length.
athletic.
Right, more athletic. So that may not fall into the tie. That may not work great for Tyus Jones.
Right.
So I don't think he's gonna be back. I wouldn't absolutely say no. I'd say it's 75-25 that he doesn't come back. But I
Hmm.
think that if they make some moves around the edges and he's willing to give it one more crack, I could see a world where he does come back. But I'm leaning towards I think Tyus is probably gone.
Hmm.
You mentioned Monty
Yeah, Monte
Morris.
Morris.
All right, Monty's another guy that I think
Kind of
got
the
a
same
bad
deal.
with Coach Bud. Yeah, he got a bad rap with Coach
I
Bud.
did too.
Um, it was just atrocious,
I
man. I
loved
mean,
Monte so much. Like whenever he got on the court, he was like that spark plug. Everything
yeah,
changed, the pace, just everything. He was good
yeah,
on
and
defense,
a
but
great dude, great
yeah.
dude.
Monte's great. I've had a few combos with
Great,
him. Shout out
yeah,
Monte.
great. There you go. Shout him out because he's a great dude off the court. Another guy that I think got a bad rap. I think there's a world where he could come back too, but it's going to be a numbers game, and
Hmm.
and we're probably going to get into a little bit why I think both those guys might not come back because of some of the stuff I'm hearing behind the scenes, but I think both those guys are let's just call it 80-20 for both of them. That
Right.
80% gone, 20% something could change, but I think they're both probably done. Bowl, man. Again, another atrocity with Bud.
Yep.
um, just didn't use the guy right. Did some really bad things behind the scenes to my guy
Yep.
Bowl.
Yep.
Um, I just it just doesn't make sense. But I'm gonna keep saying is Bo's talented, man. This guy is
Yes,
super
man.
talented, man. So I think the odds of him coming back are higher than both Tyus and Monty. I'd love to get Bo back. I'd love to give him another crack to show what he
Hmm.
can do
I
because we
would too,
saw we
yeah.
saw signs, brother. We saw some signs. This guy's got a lot of stuff in his bag
Yeah.
that only a few people in this world can do, brother.
Hmm.
So I like the chances of him potentially coming back, especially with the contract situation. But you kind of gave me a segue, so I don't know if you want to hold off on this.
Go what you gotta do, man. Take
But
off.
I tell you what, man. I think once the KD deal comes to fruition and you see what you getting back, and then we'll talk about the draft, but potentially what they can do in the draft.
Hmm.
Um, there's 2 guys that I first of all I know both of them would love to be here.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is not me guessing. This is not me just throwing something at the wall. I'm speaking from real life experience, okay? Both Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook are guys that could
I
be
was just gonna
on
talk
this
about Russ because
basketball
I saw
team.
the news. I was like, I'm talking about that tonight with
I'm
Russ.
I'm telling you first of all, Chris is a guy that is always going to be coveted because he's Chris Paul and
Hmm.
he's so damn smart and he's got a great relationship with Book and he's been here. If you got a first year head coach, you want an extended coach on the floor. And
Hmm.
there's no better extended coach and
Chris
basketball
Paul.
savant than Chris Paul, right? So now you got that situation where you can potentially bring him back and say, you know what, let's hug and
Let's
make
make
up,
up.
man. Yeah,
Sweep it under the
let's
rug.
finish. That's right. We got some unfinished business, brother. I know you love the Valley. I know you
Hmm.
love golfing out here. I know you love being teammates with Devin Booker,
Right.
man. Let's get this right. So Chris is a guy to monitor, and then a guy that I don't know if I've ever said this publicly, but I'm gonna say it for the first time here. Um, Brody Russell Westbrook has been trying to get to Phoenix for 3 years.
I've been
Okay.
curious. I've wanted Russ, but or I wanted, sorry, I wanted Russ on this team for like the past 3 years. So.
Yeah, Russ is first of all, again, he loves Phoenix. He loves the state of Arizona. I know he loves Devin Booker,
Hmm.
and I know he's again. This ain't a guess. This is real conversations. I know he has had a lot of interest in being here, and so him declining his option was very interesting this morning,
Hmm.
and it's something to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And I'll say there's mutual interest. Okay,
Hmm.
so for both guys, Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, I'll say there's mutual interest from them to come here and for us to bring them here. So those are two very interesting guys that I think one or both could be with the Suns this summer. So I don't want people to think it's one or the other. This
Right.
is a situation where both of them could come here and try to man that position. Maybe Chris is the guy, the extended coach, running stuff,
Hmm.
and then you got Russ coming off the bench, bringing that defense and that dog and that energy and that hunger to win.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to unpack there, but that's why I think Monty and Tyus might be in a tough spot because I think
Right.
there's going to be some other options. So it's going to get interesting, brother. It's going to get interesting.
Yeah, I would 100% be game for Chris Paul and Russ, that'd be pretty cool. I like what Russ
I would
does,
love it.
that would be
I would love it.
awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't really had a chance to look at like the whole free agency market because I'm sure there's player options and other stuff that still are going
Yeah.
on. Have you really like heard anything in terms of like, free agency, the Kevin stuff and the Brad stuff and the draft,
Yeah,
but
so I mean, the thing with the Suns is, first of all, you got their cap situation, so they're not going to be under the cap, so they're going to be very limited with who they can bring in.
right.
So there's a lot of guys that just naturally based on their talent and what they can command on the open market is just not going to be available for the Suns. So you're gonna have to play that fringe market. You're gonna have to look at people like last year, right? Tyus Jones was
Right.
expected to get anywhere from 15 to 20 million. They were thinking before free agency opened, and then it dried up. And so again, man, let me just say this, brother. Um, through my relationships, through my contacts with a plethora of people around this league, especially players and agents, um, the the Sun. Listen, people like Matt Ishbia in regards to the players and agents because they
Hmm.
know that he's going to pay whatever it takes to win a championship. Right? He's gonna
Yep.
he's gonna pay. He's gonna try to put the best product on the floor. So players and
Hmm.
agents appreciate that. And then the Devin Booker factor is so damn important. So there are a lot of players that would still very much love to be in Phoenix. And I know people are going to be like, "Well, who flex?" Well,
Right.
it's it, you know I can tell you straight up all NBA dudes all the way down to guys that are like 10 rotation guys off the bench
Hmm.
that love Arizona, love the city, love the weather, love Devin Booker, and would love to be here. And so we got that going for us. This idea that we're done and we're in trouble and everything is over and we can't fix this. People need to really realize that that's not really what's going on behind the scenes. There are a lot of players that still think, yo, if I go there and I team up with Book, I can fix this, right?
Yeah.
So we got that going for us, man. So it's not as bad. I'm not losing sleep, dog. I
Yeah, I'm
don't
not
lose
either.
sleep because I know the perception behind the scenes, and it's not what it was in 21, 22 when we was a finals team and everybody
Hmm.
was trying to, but it's still very much prevalent, man. People want to be here. As long as Book is here and Matt Ishby is willing to pay, you're gonna see some interesting names pop up that people are gonna be like, oh, I didn't think that was possible. Well, yeah, people still want
Yeah.
to be here.
It makes it easy when you got a guy that wants to pay you a lot of money and a guy like Devin Booker that's super unselfish and doesn't really
That's
have a
right.
big ego. So that make it
Yeah.
makes it easy.
Great point.
Um, but there's two guys in specifics I want to talk about here. Grayson Allen
Yeah.
and Royce O'Neal. I've just kind
Okay.
of assumed that, they were probably going to be traded. I'm not sure because,
Hmm.
just the size deal and,
Yep.
Grayson just kind of bulked up for no reason. Um, but
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
interesting because Royce was actually at the Jordan Knott press conference alongside Jalen Bridges, Ryan Dunn, and Oso Ighodaro. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah.
is he gonna stay now or like, there hasn't
Yeah.
really been a lot of talk about those two.
I can tell you right now, both those guys are getting shopped. No question. Okay. But
Damn.
and that is no disrespect to, like, listen,
Right. It's just
straight
the name of
up.
the game.
Yeah, it's just how it works. Both those guys are being shopped. I'd be very comfortable telling you I'm about I'm gonna say 99% certain that one of them won't be back.
Hmm.
Maybe both, but I'm gonna say this. Based on the conversations I've had, and actually, I would say about 3 days ago, I had a very long conversation about these two in particular with people within the organization, and I'll just say this: Grayson's ability to play with Book and be off the ball and stretch the floor and hit the three is still very much valuable with
Hmm.
or a commodity that they like. Um, I think Royce. If I had to gauge him, I think the chances of Grayson being back are higher than Royce.
Hmm.
And I love Royce. And
Oh
here's
yeah,
a
I do
shot.
too.
This is the thing. Royce is a dog. Royce is in the gym working right now. That's why
Yeah.
he's at the press conference, right? Them dudes are
Right.
working, right?
Yeah.
So I mess with Royce, man, but I think one of them, because of the salary and because of what they're trying to do, is probably gonna be gone this summer. I'm gonna lean
Hmm.
towards Royce. I think they're gonna trade Royce, and I think they're gonna entertain what they could do with Grayson. But yeah, this is gonna be a very different team, dog, and
Yeah.
I'm man, I know Pete, there's probably gonna be people that are gonna listen to this and be like, man, Flex, you tripping, or I'm telling you, I think based on what I've heard, and again, we got to see how the Kevin deal plays
Hmm.
out and how things play out with Brad and what we do with the draft and some of these free agent things that I think can happen. But I think there's a very good chance that this team could be back to threatening for 45, 50 wins next year.
Yeah.
With what I'm hearing, I don't think it's going to be the reset and the rebuild people are thinking.
Right. That's what I thought too.
They
Yeah.
got yeah they got some options, brother. They definitely do.
Yeah. I mean, just anything can happen, really. I mean, nobody thought the Pacers were going to be in the NBA Finals,
Correct. Great point. 2 years ago, tell me anybody think them guys being the fine shit. Let's go back to the start of the year. Tell me anybody that even thought the
right?
Pacers would be 2-2 in the NBA Finals. So yeah, to your point, great point. The league's wide open. I had an executive I was talking to a couple days ago tell me straight up the difference between what the Suns are trying to do now and what has happened in the past is that this NBA is wide open.
Hmm.
There is no dominant, clear cut uh dynasty team floating out there. Yeah,
Right.
OKC's very good. They're very good.
Hmm.
But this is still a 2-2 finals, and if they don't win this championship, that seeps into the psyche. That wears you down. You're playing a
Yeah.
full NBA finals, right? So there's a lot to the point. It's wide open, and so you're a couple moves away from oh shit. This could be fixed really quickly. Let me say one more thing because I wanna get this off my head.
Go for it.
So like I remember Kobe with that Laker dynasty with him and Shaq. And when Shaq left, Kobe went through it in LA. They were struggling to make the playoffs and they were getting bounced in the first round. And there was rumors of Kobe getting traded, and it wasn't looking good. Kobe played with a guy that I grew up with, Smush Parker. Smush Parker was his point guard. I remember those days vividly, bro. And it wasn't looking good, man. And you know what happened? They got one team. They got one team to agree on a deal, and they end up getting Paul Gasol. And that changed everything, brother. They went from completely blowing this up to not looking good to Kobe going through it to another couple championships, right? And I bring that up because I feel like Devin's in that spot a little bit right now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like it's not looking, I know from the outside it's looking like, oh, this is over. They're in trouble, but Devin, you make one move, man, and you get the right player next to Devin
Change
Booker, and all of a
everything.
sudden you right back on track, just like Kobe and Paul Gasol situation, and
Hmm.
so everybody needs to chill out a little bit, man. They got another crack at this. They just got to nail this
Yes.
off season, and it
Right.
starts with doing the right thing with the Kevin Durant situation.
Yeah, I've kind of like noticed a pattern, like just throughout like Arizona, like fan base, fans in general. They're just when things get tough, they're so used to like I'm not like
Man,
really throwing shot at like these Arizona teams, but they haven't like had like a contending like they haven't
yeah,
won shit here in Arizona. So,
no,
the easiest thing that they're used to doing is just hitting that red button and rebuilding.
yeah,
And I think that's, what a lot of people are doing with the Suns are just kind of writing them off. Which when that is
yeah,
not the case in the scenario, like a lot can change with just like one move, like you said, with the Phoenix Suns. So
yeah,
I think everybody
yeah,
just needs to relax. I think weed's
yeah.
legal in Arizona, so go smoke a joint, do what you got to do, man. Just relax. Like y'all gotta chill, bro.
Yeah, I don't smoke weed, but it's definitely legal, man. It's definitely legal here, and they can smoke. They can smoke their weed, man. Yeah, man. I think people need to chill. I love this fan base. I love this community, man. They've
Yeah,
embraced me and my family. But I will say this, man. I'm from New York, New Jersey, man. And it bothers me sometimes when I see this fan base just things get tough and get hard, and they just run for
yeah.
safety, and it's
Hmm.
like, nah, man. Like they trying, man. Someone in particular, I got upset the other day. I heard someone in particular say Devin doesn't care about winning, and I'm like, man, y'all crazy, man. Y'all crazy, man. That dude wants to
Yeah,
kill you in tic tac toe if he could.
right.
Like,
Like,
like these guys want to win. These guys are competitors, man. So it's not as bad as people think, man. But it's gonna be an interesting, explosive offseason. This might be the craziest offseason I've ever been a part of in the
yeah,
NBA, bro. I'm telling you, it's gonna get
it's gonna be
crazy.
nuts. Not just the
Yeah,
Suns, but just other teams in general too. It's gonna be nuts.
exactly. The whole league, correct.
Now, the last thing on the docket here, the NBA draft. The Suns,
Yeah,
I think, are going to be one of the most interesting teams when it comes to the draft, just mainly because, we have the 29th pick. I know we have like the
yeah,
52nd or 54th pick in the second round, which whatever.
yeah.
But we don't know if the Suns are going to get the lottery pick yet. We're not sure.
That,
Um,
that's right.
I've been looking at the Suns pre-draft workout list. They've had like a couple guys on there, like Danny Wolf, that they've been working out, which I really like Danny.
Yeah,
I think he has a really unique game in terms. He kind of I can't really like think of like a player comparison. I don't want to say like Jokic, but like he
yeah,
kind of does some shit like Jokic in
yeah,
a way.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, dude that I really like. Who are some prospects? I know. Oh, the guy from Duke 2, that 7-2 center. Forgot his name, but the kid
Uh,
seems pretty good. I think it starts like a
from
U.
you're talking about from Duke.
Yeah, I don't want to butcher it, but
Yeah, it's the Malich,
yeah, that
the
guy.
big
Yep,
kid from Duke. Yeah, yeah. No,
another
he's
kid
had
that's
some
interesting.
impressive. Come on,
Yes.
Malich.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's impressive. He actually did some really good stuff in the combine, and he showed that he got a nice little touch in the mid range. He could stretch it out a little bit, so he's very intriguing. He's going top six, top seven.
Hmm.
Um, Here's the thing. So we talked about it, right? The Suns
Yeah.
29 and 52, I believe. But they're very likely, if they make this deal, could potentially have the 10 pick to the 14 pick to the 17 pick, right?
Right. It just
And
varies.
so exactly it can vary with who they're potentially going at. But I'm gonna have this conversation premising, let's say they don't get anyone else's pick and they stick at what they got is 29 and 52. I'll tell you a guy that I'm absolutely fascinated with, that I absolutely love, and it's my man Thero from Arkansas. Adu Thero from Arkansas. He was previously at Kentucky, went to Arkansas with Coach Cal.
Hmm.
Bro, this dude, I mean, he's a small forward, power forward, 6'8", 220. He reminds me of OG Ananobi. Okay,
Okay.
if you haven't checked him out, look at his film.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to do that.
A dude Thero is a guy I'm fascinated with. He got some pop in his bag off the dribble, super explosive, just defense, energy, dog. He's a type of guy that if you stick and pick at 29, you're looking at another, like let's say you're trying to mimic what they did last year with Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro.
Yeah.
You take a guy like Thero, you can't get enough wings. That guy's gonna come in day one and cause hell and havoc. So
Hmm.
Thero's a guy like the kid from Florida, Clayton Jr.
Yeah, that's
Is
another kid
another
I'm
guy that
interested in.
I
Hmm.
really like. He's a combo guard. I want to say he's six. I think he measured in at the combine
I thought
at a
he's like
little
six
bit
three.
under. Yeah, if I'll pull that up. I want to say he is 6'4 2/4 is what he
Okay.
measured in at the combine. So yeah, so he measured in at 6'3 2/4. So he's almost 6'4. He can shoot the rock. He's clutch. He got a little bit more bounce to his game than people think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you another guy that I absolutely love, and that's he's another guard. This kid is almost 6'5", 200 pounds. Cam Jones from Marquette.
Mm. Okay.
Um, I, so there's three programs that I swear by. Okay, first of all, if you're a Kentucky guard,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at you.
I'm gonna take you every day.
Okay, yeah, if you're a Kentucky guard, I'm gonna look at you, especially Calipari time, right?
Hmm.
I don't know about
Yeah.
now, but Calipari, if you're a Kentucky guard, I'm looking at you, right? And
Yeah.
then my favorite program, one of my favorite coaches ever, Jay Wright, Villanova. You seen the whole Nova Knicks thing, right? If
Hmm.
you from Nova and you're in the NBA, you probably can hoop, dog. And then a low key team is Marquette. Like, you
Yeah.
know,
They've had some
whether
sneaky
it's
guys like
oh
Oso,
yeah,
right?
okay, so Oso and Tyler Collect from last year's draft. You know, you
Hmm.
want to go back a little further. You got D Wade, you got Jimmy Buckets, you got Jay Crowder, right? You
Hmm.
got dogs. They don't produce many pros, but when they do go pro, they come from a program that's
They're
well
legit.
respected and they're legit. So Cam Jones, he's a guy that I really like. Again, a shooting guard, point guard, shooting guard, almost 6'5", 202. Brings it defensively, man. Like he is an absolute dog. So some of those guys, if you're later in the draft and you're trying to stick and pick, those are guys I'm looking at. But if the Suns are able to get a top 10 pick or a top 14 pick, or let's just call it a lottery pick, man, there's some talent in this draft. I actually
Yeah.
think the opposite. People are saying this is a three-man draft between
Hmm.
Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper, and Ace Bailey. And I'm gonna tell you, there's some really good players in this draft in the middle
Hmm.
to late first round. So if the Suns, if they can do what they've been doing, because remember, another guy people don't want to talk about is Kamara. You know what I mean? Like Kamara made first team All NBA defense, brother. Tumani
Oh, fuck! I
Kamara
don't
is a
want to
hell
talk
of a
about
player.
Timania.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think
I don't
about
either,
him.
but just think about it. If you look at the Phoenix Suns picks recently, Tumani Kamara, Ryan Dunn, Oso Gadaro, all very good
Hmm.
picks. So what is that telling you? That's telling you that the scouting and development is getting better. They're hitting
Yes.
on these picks, and none of those picks were high picks.
Hmm.
So the opportunity for them to stick and pick at 29-52 and get a good player is looking promising.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we kind of brought in Ryan Dunn and Oso because I think Ryan Dunn's going to take a hell of a leap. I'm not saying like
Ah,
all-star like leap, but this kid's going to be legit next year, man. Once he develops,
man.
like just from like just from like what we heard from like the draft to just like the first ever preseason game he played, this kid can't shoot. He just that was the whole stigma. Now this dude had a full year in the NBA, and then he has a full NBA offseason. He's been in the gym with Kevin Durant still, despite him
Yeah,
probably being, he's gonna be gone.
yeah.
This kid's gonna come back and he's gonna have a higher, role in the offense.
Oh
This
hell
kid's
yeah.
this kid's gonna be
Yeah.
legit, man. I'm excited, and a lot
Dunn,
of people
Dunn's
just been
my
kind of
guy.
writing off Dunn. Yeah, Dunn's gonna be legit.
Dunn, Dunn's my guy, and they can go on the timeline. It's well documented, brother. I was talking about Ryan Dunn a month before the Suns drafted him. I
Hmm.
stuck with it. I did my work. I did the process all the way up until draft night. I told everybody it's Ryan Dunn. People were saying he couldn't shoot. I was
Yep.
talking to his college coaches and doing my dive, and it's like, man, no, this kid can fix this.
Hmm.
His mechanics are fine.
Yeah, it's like the
He's one
mechanics
of
were there. Yeah.
Yeah, mechanics were there, and I'll tell you this, man. I break down this film and this tape of these prospects, and I go crazy with it right around draft time. And in 15 years that I've been evaluating players personally on my own, Ryan Dunn is one of the top two or three I've evaluated in 15 years
Hmm.
defensively. I mean, he's so damn good. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's going to be an All NBA defender. His 3-point shot's going to improve, and he's got some other stuff in his bag that people are sleeping on. I think Ryan Dunn is a keeper, and he'll be a part of the next great Phoenix Suns team if they can get this right.
Yeah, and I think there's a very underlooked aspect about Ryan Dunn. Mainly, a lot of people don't really know about Ryan Dunn. He was a rookie, but
Yeah,
just for Suns fans, Ryan Dunn was on a podcast, I think, with like Theo Pinson or whatever. If you
yeah,
don't
Theo
know about
Pinson,
Ryan
my
Dunn,
guy. I love Theo. Yeah,
go tap into that podcast. I might link that down below. But like Ryan Dunn
yeah.
wasn't like heavily looked at until like his senior year of high
Nope.
school. Like he's a grinder, even in college.
Correct.
He didn't have
Correct.
that big a role until like his last few years at Virginia there.
That's
So.
a fact. And Tony Bennett, man, that's a tough offense to play in. And that's what I kept telling people. I'm like, bro, they don't want to shoot the three at Virginia. They're it's a unique system. They grind. So yeah, to your point, he was not highly recruited. He worked for everything he got. And he is a heck of a basketball player, on par with Mikal Bridges at this point in his career.
Hmm.
Okay. I remember young Mikal out of Villanova. And this guy is very much on par. I think he's a better defender than Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, I do too.
Mikel's a little bit more advanced at this age
Yeah.
offensively, but Ryan can get there. And then let's not forget Oso, man. Oso
Exactly.
is
I was just
super
gonna bring that. Yeah.
talented, man.
Also,
Super talented.
high
Again,
IQ,
come
bro.
from Marquette. Super high IQ. One of the smartest basketball players you'll ever be around, bro. Offensively and defense can dissect and digest information. Incredible, can bring the ball up. I mean, this is a guy that in a must-win game against UConn, against Dan Hurley, one of my guys, coached at North St. Benedict's Prep. I grew up with the Hurley family. This is the number one team in the country. Tyler Collette got the flu, and Oso Iguodala ran point guard
Hmm.
against the number one team in the country and went up against the big guy, Kling, in that game and held his own. So he can handle the rock. He's got a high IQ. He's more athletic than people think. I love Oso Gadara. I think both those guys are going to be big pieces of the next
Yes.
really good Phoenix Suns team. Add this pick or picks in this draft. Add what you're going to potentially bring in with Kevin Durant, what you could do with Bradley Beal, potentially some free agents, a new head coach, and you could see things turn around pretty quickly here, man.
Yeah. There's one guy that I'm really fascinated about, Jalen Bridges, 6'8",
Ooh, I love
has a
Jalen. Yeah,
burner. I
I
went
love
to
Jalen.
a G League game this season. That kid's tough. He's legit. I'm excited to see how they're gonna incorporate him.
Yeah, Jalen's. I heard a lot of good things about him behind the scenes, bro. And I'll tell you one thing, bro. That kid got a strap. That
Hmm.
kid lets it go.
Hmm.
Catch and shoot. He's very good.
Yeah,
Not
he's tough.
afraid, not timid. I like him. He's tough. But I'm gonna tell you the guy no one's bringing up enough, which I love this guy. This guy is gonna be around for a little while. Again, back to the Tyus Jones and
Con
Monty
Gillespie.
Morris. My boy Colin is a
I don't
dog,
know how we haven't
man.
talked about Colin yet.
Colin Gillespie is a dog. Again, once again, shout out Villanova, right? I'll send you some stuff, but I mean, I'm sitting courtside at Seton Hall, Villanova. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Back when he was at Nova rocking. So I've been messing with Colin for a minute. Um, yo, bro, just I'm gonna tell y'all, I think Colin Gillespie's gonna have a similar role than that TJ McConnell has in
Hmm.
Indiana.
That's a great
Okay, just
comparison. That's a really good
scrappy
one.
ass defender that can shoot, run the
Hmm.
offense. Teammates love him. Super smart. Comes from a great program. So yeah, you again. Let's talk it. Ryan Dunn, also Goodall, Colin Gillespie, Jalen Bridges, plus our picks. They
That's a
got
great
some.
core.
Yeah, you got some young guys that can hoop, man. So this isn't as bad as people think.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun to watch these guys develop, man.
Yeah, it's just all about the opportunity. These guys haven't really had Ryan Dunn got yanked of like the rotation after being a starter
It
and
doesn't make sense.
being
Doesn't
a
make sense.
rising star, but
Doesn't make sense.
whatever. We
Doesn't
don't have
make
to deal with
sense.
that
Yeah. Yeah, right.
anymore.
Right.
But yeah, we have a lot of like young dudes that can really get to it and hoop, man. I think it's gonna be a really exciting time in Suns basketball. I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
that joy that everybody's kind of been chasing, that that 2021 Phoenix Suns high. I think we're gonna get that back here pretty soon. You just got to be patient, man. It's
See
all
them
gonna happen.
win, right?
Oh, I gotta get see. Oh, that's
You just
perfect.
brought it up, so I had to turn the hat. You know what I'm saying?
That's legit.
Yeah, man, we dog. I will say this, man. It's gonna be fun.
Hmm.
They're not gonna be a championship team next year, right?
Right.
You know, people think it's just not gonna happen, right? But I think they got a 2 to 3 year window now where they're
Yes.
gonna hit the reset button a little bit, soft rebuild, and I guarantee you this, man. Here's what I'm gonna say on this show. I guarantee you this, brother. Teams are gonna not like coming to Phoenix to have to play them.
Hmm.
They're gonna be scrappy. They're gonna be fun to watch, and they're gonna play their ass off. Win, lose it, they may not win a game, but it's gonna be a team that you're gonna enjoy watching every night. I think. And
Hmm.
so that's all you can ask for. That's all you can ask for. Have a team
100%.
that's fun to watch, and they give 100% effort, and they're young and they're scrappy and they're building for something. With a coach that's hungry, I like it.
Yes. Now, this is kind of an interesting dude. What do you think is up with Nick Richards? Like, does he have like a solidified role, or they're
Yeah.
just shopping him
No,
too, kind of?
no, I like Nick. I was just with Nick about 3 weeks ago. Nick's from my neck of the woods. Nick is from Jersey, New York. Went to my old high school, St. Pat's High School out in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Um, I think Nick is got a really good chance to come back and be a really good backup center. He's not a starting center.
Yes.
He's not gonna start for the
So
Phoenix Suns, but
by
I
this
do think
comment,
he can be back.
since you brought that up, do you think the Suns are going to go out and try to get a starting center this
Yes,
offseason? Yep.
absolutely,
Gotcha.
absolutely, and it may happen in the KD trade, right?
Hmm.
So, I absolutely, emphatically, I've had too many conversations about it. Their plan is to get a solidified starting center in here, and a guy like Nick Richards is a guy they love to bring back and keep
Yeah.
with the
I love Nick a
organization and
lot too.
grow. Yo, Nick's a great dude, man,
Yeah.
great dude. Yeah, Nick's fantastic, man.
Awesome. Awesome. Now,
Yep.
before we kind of wrap this up, just kind of poking
Hmm.
my holes in the, or, poking the pencil through the box here. Is there any just like random guys out there that, the Phoenix Suns are kind of monitoring in terms of like trades, just anything?
Um, yeah, so I will say that. So I told you it's going to be an explosive offseason.
Hmm.
Uh, without saying too much, here's what I will say. I will say there are teams that are trying to do things, and the Suns are monitoring it. Like I think you got to watch out for Atlanta.
Hmm.
I do think there's a very good chance that Trey Young could get traded this
Hmm.
summer. And I know there's some people that are paying attention to the Trey Young situation.
Hmm.
Um, I told you Jaron Jackson is a guy to pay attention to and what's going on in Memphis. You mentioned the guy. You mentioned Lonzo Ball.
Yes. Thank God.
I,
Please tell me
I,
that the
I,
Suns are in on
I'm,
that.
I, again, these are guys that I'm hearing are potentially on the move, and I believe there's interest from the Suns if things shake out and play out the right way. These are guys that they could be looking at. So,
Hmm.
um, I've always loved Lonzo. He got such a bad break, man, with that knee
Yeah,
injury.
that sucks.
But yeah,
The Bulls in general with that too. They had something really good going on over
yeah,
there.
it's been a tough go, man. But yeah, I just I'll throw again. I'll tell you, pay attention to Memphis, pay attention to Atlanta, pay attention to Chicago. Uh, there's Toronto's doing some interesting things. So there's a plethora of guys out there that I think people don't think are going to be available or may not come free that you could be shocked on. Pay attention to Philadelphia. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about Paul George, but
Hmm.
Healthy Paul George is still a pretty damn good player.
Yes.
And so there's some things, there's some reason to believe that Philly could be looking at getting rid of a guy like Paul George, and that's where having a guy like Brad Beal and his contract could potentially come into play, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of stuff across the board. I think again, Philadelphia, I think is going to could be
Yeah.
thinking about moving Joel Embiid,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
right?
good point.
So again, I'm not saying these are guys the Suns are going to get. I'm saying these are guys that
Just throwing it
I've
out
been
there.
told. Yeah, I've been told they're having conversations around the league, and these are guys that the Phoenix Suns definitely are, on the radar. If you're an NBA GM and you're not, these guys aren't on the radar, then you're not doing your job,
You just
right?
got to do your due
Um,
diligence. You got to ask
that's
around.
right. You gotta do your due diligence on everything around. So gonna be a crazy, bro. Get ready, buckle up. It's gonna be the craziest offseason in the history of basketball potentially. And it's about to get started in the next 48 to 72 hours with what potentially happens with Kevin Durant. So it's gonna be fun, man. And then we jump back on and dissect all this stuff
Yes,
and
sir.
do
Of
it all over
course.
again. Yeah, man.
Well, with that being said, guys, thank you guys for tuning in because this is a long haul. We were here for like an hour and 45 minutes. So we've
Yeah,
been here, we've
yeah.
been bumping being basketball junkies and such. So yeah, man, shout out to you, Flex, for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I know your phone's been buzzing, so I appreciate you making the time to come on here and
Of course.
drop some flex bombs here on the Sons of White YouTube channel. So yeah, shout out to you guys for tuning in. Flex's socials and stuff will all be in the description below, so go ahead and check those out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Peace.